potato sticks, freaky fries. Get that awesome crunch.
Good evening, fellow Zambians, countrymen and women across Zambia, those with an opportunity to watch us live on the oxygen of our democracy. I'm very much pleased to note that this program is reaching you into your various places, hotels, living rooms, bedrooms, and so forth and so on, so that we can highlight and teach one another about the issues affecting our country, positive or negatively. It's for this reason that today on the oxygen of democracy, we thought of bringing another exciting topic, which we are looking at, the leadership accountability among members of parliament. Leadership accountability among members of parliament. Are they delivering according to what we had put them into those offices? Are we satisfied as members of the public in various constituencies across the country? Once again, leadership accountability among members of parliament. My name is Kala Mchima, your host, to be with you from now up until the time that we'll be closing this particular program. Helping me discuss this program is no other than Mark Smue, a political activist. Mark has been on this program for quite a number of occasions, so he's not new on this platform. So Mark, good evening.
Good evening, Chima. How has been the long weekend?
Tiresome because we've been working throughout. Maybe for you, how has it been?
Well, it's been, of course, okay, successful, relaxing, and looking at the way things have been unfolding at the, show, agricultural show to be particular, with the one very interesting theme there, and a number of institutions showcasing their products and services. So quite very interesting. And
you should wish us well. I must inform you that we've scooped the best, the third prize in the best media category, best exhibitor. We came third.
Wow.
Then privately institution, the best exhibitor, we also came third. So we've got 3 trophies to our name.
You definitely have actually been quite good and consistent, and I think you have to be encouraged. And we just hope that someday soon your coverage has to be expanded as well, going beyond the borders of this country.
Okay.
And obviously looking forward to seeing you on satellite broadcasting as well. We
are working on that. We can assure you that very soon, especially the digital migration coming, definitely we'll be achieving those goals.
Yes, that's the prayer of everyone.
All right. Sitting next to Mr. Max Mue is Mr. Jonathan Mumani, a developmental activist. Mr. Mumani, good evening.
Good evening, Karen. Good evening, Zambia.
All right. And to most of you, Mr. Jonathan Mumani has been a regular feature on this program, not in the studio, but participating. He's called literally on most of the programs. I'm sure those that have been following this program, you've heard Mr. Jonathan Mumani contributing on the show. So we thought of just also extending a hand of invitation to him so that he can in detail discuss some of the issues that he brings forth. And of course, with him, you've heard him defending the ruling Patriotic Front to the deepest. So, I mean, it'll be exciting to hear really what he has to say about the PF that he believes in so much, the party that he believes in. That's the Patriotic Front. All right. Let me start with you, Mr. Smue. 2016 is... We've got about 2 years to go to 2016, but the wind of campaigns, the wind of elections seems to be almost everywhere. People have already started campaigning. People have already started trying to see which constituents they can vie for. Maybe to start with, is this the best time to start such kind of political meetings?
Well, what is so clear about our legislation is that must first state from the outset that an institution that regulates elections or administers elections is the Electoral Commission of Zambia. We have the Electoral Commissions Act as well, which gives more details on how elections have to be administered. We have the Local Government Act, the Local Government Elections Act, which as well brings out details on how elections have to be held at different levels of our, democracy. But I must state that amid all these pieces of legislation, including the Constitution, it is clear that when people begin strategizing to stand for a particular constituency, there are a number of activities that they can undertake which one would not easily deem as campaigns but mere community service. So to draw a line as to whether people have started campaigning for a particular position before an official declaration of a campaign period would not easily suffice, in that community service is one thing and campaigns is another. So sometimes people may declare themselves ready for a particular position, and that in a way would be considered ambitious. So if someone has got ambitions, so would you say that he's campaigning? So it's one thing to have ambitions, it's
but
another.
If you've already stated that I'm doing this because I want to stand, just like some have already declared interest in vying for positions.
And it's critical to also state at this juncture, Muchima, that very few candidates would tell you that I'm doing charity work because I want to stand. They will tell you I'm doing this because this is my nature, and in me you can see leadership. I am born with some characteristics that would help the community in one or the other, positively or negatively. So to open a Pandora's box that certain community services that you've engaged in as a result of your goal to campaign would possibly be a misplacement of your target, especially in terms of weighing the electorates. But what is so clear and critical to consider at this point is the fact that everyone is free to vie for any position in this country, for as long as they satisfy the requirements as provided for by the Constitution of Zambia.
When is the best person for someone to start engaging in political meetings, political campaigns in any given setting?
You mean the best place, the best time?
The best time, because for let's say at presidential level and parliamentary level, if we don't have a by-election, definitely it's 5 years. But all these past years, we've seen that we start probably a year to go, but now the situation seems to be different. There's so much tension in the country. We've seen a number of individuals really gearing up. Election mood is already, I may say, it's in high gear.
Well, one thing that you need to understand as well, that politics is a lifelong process, and if you really want to make the best of yourself in terms of offering quality leadership, it must have been a well-timed period. So in other words, you must start you realigning your thoughts and your strategies, in advance. In a way, you must strategize. So for those of our colleagues that may have had ambitions to stand for the presidency of this country, they will tell you they started having these ambitions 20 years ago. Okay, and they've been campaigning year in, year out, and even during the election time. For some of our colleagues that are already in the National Assembly, they will tell you way back when they were in school, before they even attained the age of majority, which would call the age when one fits to stand as a member of the National Assembly, which is 21. They will tell you at that time they were itching to stand as members of the National Assembly and to represent the majority Zambians. So when it comes to planning, it must be a strategy. You must strategize. We would not easily give a time frame. There are some, because of our political structure in Zambia, which sometimes is determined by the popularity of a particular party, who have simply popped up a year before the elections and they've made it. So it also depends on the party that you intend to stand on, and indeed how sellable you are as an individual, because it's very possible to lose even when you are one of the best candidates, even when you have the best offer for the community. You lose because of possibly the party or the positioning of yourself. So you must identify yourself with the winning team. That is one thing that is critical now, but that comes at a strategy level. So as to when one has to campaign should be, a dream that should start as yesterday for anybody who intends to stand. So that you strategize, you plan properly. Don't become an opportunist or a chancer. You must start from somewhere.
Let's get to the discussion of the day, of the night. Leadership accountability among members of parliament. Our members of parliament, our representative, living to the expectations of the electorate?
Well, all that is a general question. It must be trickled down to individual members of the National Assembly. And you give so many examples of members of the National Assembly who have performed to the expectations of their communities. Some may not have done exceptionally well, but there is something that they can boast of and possibly point to that this is exactly what we've put up. I would give an example for the highly spoken of Mao Sampa. He's a young man, and he's been doing quite well, especially with his strategy of campaigning. Anybody can easily tell that this person has intentions to retain the seat by actually bringing out those critical points that would appeal to the masses. He started that campaign that has to do with the loaning vehicles. Obviously, which community wouldn't want empowerment? Every community is for empowerment. So you must be strategic. So when you talk about whether or not members of the National Assembly are accountable for the program that they run at constituency level can be trickled down to an individual MP. Some members of the National Assembly have done exceptionally well. Others have been a disaster. And if you went into some of the constituencies and asked the masses or possibly conducted a survey, members of the vast majority would tell you that they would not want to give that person another chance. So that is exactly what actually is at stake.
That brings in Mr. Jonathan Mumani, Change Kanyama Revolution. What is this all about, Mr. Mumani?
Thank you very much, Karan. Change Kanyama Revolution has come to change the livelihood of Kanyama constituency. We, the people of Kanyama, have suffered for a long time, since 1964 to today. I'll tell you, Karan, that Kanyama is older than so many of the settlements that are around this city. Kanyama is older than Matero. Kanyama is older than Kawata, Libala, and other places. Now, if you look at how we have been living, we, the people of Kanyama today, it's pathetic. And as my colleague was elaborating, there are some members of parliament who are working, but ours hasn't been working. And this calls for this revolution. The revolution is not come to demean anybody or maybe separate the people. It has come to develop the place. It has come as an endeavor of why we, of all people in Lusaka, have trailed behind in whatever development has been going on throughout for the past 50 years. We have a problem, Kalan, in Kanyama today. I cannot...
Let's just highlight some of the problems you are facing in Kanyama.
Thank you. We have problems in sanitation, and this is why you are seeing me carrying a lake today. I have come with a lake to show you, because wherever a lake is, people are sweeping, and sanitation is there. We in Kanyama have got no drainages, and you have seen me carrying a pick. This pick hasn't been working in Kanyama constituency for a long time, because wherever you see a pick, there is works. Because for you to have drainages, for you to have good roads, a pick must be at work. And these are some of the problems that we have suffered for a long time in Kanyama. Hence the call for this revolution. It's not a revolution, Kalan, for us to separate ourselves. Or maybe some people should politicize it. It's for the development of people of Kanyama and to have better life, as some have it in Kawata, in Matero, in Chilenje, and other places. So this revolution is not political, but it's for specifically for Kanyama people. And whoever is in Kanyama today, who is suffering, working in what you have seen me have put into these gumboots, getting ready. This is August. September, October, we the people of Kanyama are now used to walk into water that we cannot even put away the gumboots. Because anytime we think of floods.
Okay, hold your thought. I think we've got some clips of what you are trying to talk about. Let's see if we have some of those clips. Okay, once those clips are ready, we'll be getting to them. But have you discussed with your area MP, Kaniwo Jerry Chand, about your concerns as members of Kanyama constituency?
Thank you very much, Kalan. Kaniwo Jerry Chand is one of the MPs that have failed. I'm not specifically talking about Kaniwo Jerry Chand, but since 1978, when Mr. Chirwa was MP in UNEP, we have seen little change to the settlement today. And this is a settlement, Kalan, that have a lot of people. The population today is almost 500,000 in Kanyama. As it is, Kanyama doesn't grow by growth of population as per country. As you may understand, Kanyama grows by migration. All the people who migrate to the urban areas, most of them come to Kanyama, as it is near to industry, near to the many markets. As you understand, the main economic, activity today is market, being a marketeer or working as a laborer in the industries that are in Kanyama today. And this makes it easy for people to access houses. Now, if you look at the housing in Kanyama itself, you will be disappointed on how we survive and how we live as people. Are we going to continue, Kalan, to live in such a situation even when we have representation in parliament? For how long?
You are a PF member, stand to be corrected.
You are right.
You are a PF member and you are speaking like that against your official who is representing you under the Patriotic Front. I'm sure the people of Kanyama constituency, they'll be happy with what you are saying. But will your party be happy to expose your MP that is not performing? Because that would translate into the entire party as not performing, isn't it?
That is not. My colleague here was praising Melson, who is also PF parliamentarian from Matero. Now, the problem here is, and to answer your question, who is the party between the people and whoever you are saying you will hate me? Because the party is the people. If the Kanyama people themselves say our parliamentarian is not performing, then they are the party. Which party, which other party are you talking about? So if we in Kanyama, the PF members, say Jerry Chand has not delivered to us, we are the party, we are the people. So there is no one who can come and say, Mumani, what you are talking about, you can be. I am ready to face anybody. Because we are the people who are deprived of all what we need. We cannot continue, Kalan, to be given, a water as if we are buying cooking oil. Where you build kiosks for people as if we are at a refugee camp. This time, if my wife comes late from showground to bring children, I will find that the kiosks are locked and I won't have a bath. Is that normal? Is that in order? Are we going to continue to have garbages not being collected? Drainages that doesn't exist. You see, when we have a representation in parliament. So some of these things have, exploded now, and hence calling for this revolution. It's for the people of Kanyama to start now or continue swimming in water every rainy season.
Who's championing this revolution?
We, the people of Kanyama.
And who's that?
And I am the face of the revolution now.
Okay, let's just see some of the clips coming through into Kanyama, according to what Mr. Mumani is talking about. Cool. All right. Okay. Okay. So these are some of the clips Mr. Mumani is talking about. Now, Mr. Simue, coming to you. Do you think his concerns is what is causing the tension for people to start campaigning early?
Well, I'll tell you something about the role of an MP. Possibly that needed to be ably explained. It's important to state that an MP is not only known for lawmaking as a member of the legislature. An MP is also a councillor, in case you did not know. So you can call them councillors as well. So in other words, they are part and parcel of the local authorities. Now, while it is clear that issues to do with drainage system become a preserve of the Minister or local government, and indeed the local authorities such as the council, it is imperative to state that the councillors are at the core of the planning part as well, because they are part and parcel of the council. So when such matters begin to emerge, obviously fingers will be pointing to the decision making figures, and indeed members of parliament, not forgetting the councillors themselves. You are also aware that there is what we call constituents development funds, CDF funds, which now stands still minimal, and the increase, though quite appreciated, was quite marginal, in that it would not deal or arrest or ameliorate the situation as can be seen on that creep in Kanyama. That is a high density area that requires a long term and short term plan. I'm aware that it requires a lot of millions, for one to bring that particular residential area to the standard. However, such programs usually are done in phases. There should be a beginning, which should give people hope. That, okay, look, because if you look at the way the area is structured, even the landscape itself, just to come up with a meaningful drainage is a non-starter. So what is supposed to be done is that since Lusaka was poorly planned, okay, what should have happened is what I remember in Ghana, the time I visited Ghana last year in Accra. They have made canals, a very big drainage across the city. Okay, in order to control the water table, and indeed such cases as represented on the clip in Kanyama. The idea there is to avoid floods which are necessary, because even a simple downpour in Kanyama would result in a serious flood, and people will have to swim through.
But Mr.
And that
Mumani
becomes
Mr. Mumani is a concern. Mr. Mumani and the other people he's representing in Kanyama, are their concerns justifiable?
Well, concerns are justifiable, and possibly his complaint is not I'm not getting that complaint for the first time. It is something that many people have expressed displeasure about, especially that we have got relatives in such areas, we've got friends in such areas, especially during the rain season. It really poses a very serious health challenge. Diseases such as cholera should not be talked about in this century. Those diseases which are associated with dirty and carelessness are embarrassing for a country in this modern era. So those are some of the cases that you find in Kanyama. The toilet facilities, sewer pipes are in disarray. So I think his call is justified. Possibly it would be a question of, after he's raised all these concerns and the problems that are found in Kanyama, if he's got ambitions possibly to stand someday, is he able to actually spin or turn the pendulum? Let me bring out what could be the lasting solution to the numerous challenges that people of Kanyama have been confronted with.
Let me
and
pose
what
that
type
question
of
to
yes.
him. Do you have any ambitions of representing the people of Kanyama?
As at now, Karen, there is no vacancy in Kanyama, and elections are 2 years, in future. So we are not talking about representation. We're not talking about becoming MPs.
Do you have future plans of leading Kanyama?
If the people of Kanyama says Jonathan Mumani is the right candidate to turn around the filthy that you have seen, or the dirty, the toilets, to come up with good drainages, then who I am to refuse? But as at now, that's not important. What we are looking at is, we, a generation that lives today, are we capable to turn around things? As you know, it's not a one-man thing, as my colleague was saying. It will require much effort and much planning for Kanyama to turn around. Now, the generation that we, the young people today, are we ready to turn around? And hence the call for this revolution. The revolution is there to sensitize, to awakening, and to make sure that we realize that we exist and we can change things in Kanyama compound and the constituency. So after we realize that, then we are going to choose our own leaders who are going to stand. If the people says, Mumani, you are the right person to make sure that Kanyama change, I am going to go with that way. But that is not the case. As
So what is your personal conviction as at now? Do you have the interest to serve Kanyama?
in any capacity, even this is why I'm here, Kalan.
I've asked you a question. Are you in any way intending or wishing to represent the people of Kanyama at parliamentary level?
I can represent the people of Kanyama.
Do you have
at
the
parliamentary
conviction?
level.
What is your conviction? Are you ready?
I am ready to save the Kanyama people if they choose me to be. It's not an imposing matter. The people must decide. I am not deciding today. There is no.
I'm asking because they cannot impose. Because if they force more money, they impose on you. Probably you are not ready. But for me, the question is: do you have any intentions from your personal conviction as Jonathan Mumani that I think one day I want to represent the people of Kanyama? Do you have that zeal, a desire?
I can represent the
Do you
people
have the
of-
desire?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. All right. When did you launch, or when are you launching this revolution?
We haven't launched the revolution. We have just started. We are consulting, doing the research. And one of those researches, we are doing with the people from the University of Zambia that are helping us so that we as people of Kanyama could understand ichile kunkumye myungu chafu bya myungu makanyama kalani kwamba tunoko na nsala. What has been the problem when other constituencies have developed and we in Kanyama have not? What has been the problem? Is it we the people or the people we send to parliament? Is it the money or is it the state that have refused to render us service and give us the necessities that we require? After we have done with that research, then we will know the way forward. As you understand today, Kalan, that Kanyama have got nothing that we can say we will develop on. We have to start. You look at education sector. We have no schools. Chinika was turned into a high school from a primary. And from Chinika to Kalundu Primary School in Chilanga constituency, there is no school. Why? You go to Linda, there is no high school. You get into Makeni, there is no high school. What is the problem? And what is the plan? Who has been holding us in this position without giving us hospitals? The state has never built a hospital in Kanyama. What's the problem? Are we not constituted to some of these things that are elsewhere? Look at Libala. Look at the spaces of schools. Look at Matero. It's a small place. But there is Kasamba here, there is school here, there is... What about Kanyama? And our children and us, we used to cross the rail line. Still today, when even the population of Kanyama has increased, children are still crossing Cairo Road to get education from the other side of town. For how long is this going to continue? A clinic, we still praise the Kanjombe family. May the Lord bless them wherever they are for giving us that small clinic in Kanyama. What is the problem? Are we not on the national plan as Kanyama people? We are finding out, and the revolution is for such matters and such issues, for us to know if the state is not in order to give us those things. Let them tell us. Or is it the parliamentarians that are not working to give us these things? Let them tell us, because we need to understand. If we understand where the problem is, then Kanyama, we can start. You see, there is no sewer pipe. Kanyama is a dambo place, and we rely on pit latrines. 2 downpours, our pit latrines are flooded, and children are, risked on typhoid and this cholera. For how long is this going to continue when it's only 3 kilometers from City Market to Kanyama? A bus stop. Can't the state put up a sewer line in Kanyama so that we stop digging these pit latrines?
I'm wondering, because you gave an example of Mr. Simue. You may have to excuse me a little bit. I know you've been quiet, but let me first deal with this issue because it seems exciting indeed. So you may excuse me if you hold on for some time. But have you been discussing with your MP, kind of Jerry Chanda? Have you had meetings to explain some of these challenges that you're going through? And what has been his response? Because I just heard him talk about Mao Sampa. Mao Sampa has been frequenting his constituents for quite some time. Though we are not trying to campaign for Mao Sampa on this program, but truth be told, he's been doing quite his level best as an MP. Have you been sitting with your MP?
Our MP, Kalan, is nowhere to be seen. His office is manned by his secretary. And you go to the secretary, he tells you to meet, to leave the information, as if we voted for a secretary. We need the MP to be in his office sometimes. We need him to come and address us so that we understand his plans. But he's nowhere. Are we going to follow him in Muchinga for him to explain the plan of Kanyama constituency? He's nowhere to be seen. And
but he was Lusaka province minister. I'm sure by then, before he went to Muchinga, he was already here. And I'm sure him being the minister of Lusaka, and Kanyama is just right here within Lusaka province. Didn't you take advantage of him being here?
If you people can afford to report what Mayo Samba is doing in Matero, why don't you report what Gerichanda is doing in Kanyama? The media. Have you seen anybody from any media, not even Prime, coming to Kanyama and reporting incidences or briefings or any meeting held by Kano Gerichanda? There is nothing like that. He has denied us even communicating to him. And that's not, the way an MP should be. We admire other MPs, how they talk to their people. And that is how it should be. So Kano Gerichanda has failed us, and if there is anything, let him resign. So that the rest of the time, 2 years that is left, some people can take over and do certain things that we need in the constituency. The constituency is being dragged behind, and very soon I even blame them that stood with him. Where are they? You were talking about campaign moods. It's not campaign moods. If I am a resident of Kanyama and my MP is not performing, and I talk about him, or I go and do some services in the community, that's not campaign. The constitution here in Act 113 tells us of the duties that we should do as a community, the citizens' duties. One of them is to make sure that there is an issue of making sure that you do your services to the state in let me just quote Act 113, what it says. It shall be the duty of every citizen to, and A says, be patriotic and loyal to Zambia and to promote its well-being. B, contribute to well-being of the community where that citizen lives, including the observance of health controls. That is the constitution. Now, if I stand as Jonathan Mumani in Kanyama and see that there is too much garbage at the MP's office and go and clean it, who is anybody to come and control me when it's my duty? That's the constitution. So some of these things, let's do politics aside. We need to develop our places. We are tired of rhetorics. Hence the revolution. The revolution is for every Kanyama resident. Kanyama needs everything that are in Kawata and Matero. We need hospitals. We need schools. We need drainages. We need sewer lines. We need water. We are not going to continue to buy. You go in John Lengi. It's pathetic. You go in Magwawa, people are still drawing water in shallow wells alongside the pit latrines. When we have the representation in parliament.
But Mr. Muman, sorry for carrying you, but what's your complaints, which are representing the views of other residents? Don't you think it's impacting negatively on your party, which you support, the PF? That is not the case. Mayo Sampa is PF. Honorable Given Luinda is PF. You are praising them. You, Karen, are praising them. And why shouldn't I sit down and, the president, sometimes, when I sit down, I even condemn my Republican president. He came to Kanyama with Kano Gerichanda in Twashuga grounds in 2011 and made him to kneel down to beg us to vote for Kano Gerichanda again. And we did. And the president is not coming to our rescue. Now that kind of judgment is not delivering. That's not fair. And this is why sometimes when some of us who advocate for community development call for the change of the constitution, it's not for those political clauses or articles that are there. It's for some of these things that are stated in Article 111 and 112. How could the state
states so much good things in Article 112 that the following directives shall be the principles of state policy for the purpose of this part. The state shall be based on democratic principles. That's A. B. The state shall endeavor to create an economic environment which shall encourage individuals, initiative, and self-reliance among the people and promote private investment. C. The state shall endeavor to create conditions under which all citizens shall be able to secure adequate means of livelihood and opportunity to obtain employment. D. The state shall endeavor to provide clean and safe water, adequate medical and health facilities, and decent shelter for all persons. Kalan, how are we going to continue in this? And then the same state preempt this good thing, this good writing, with in Article 111, the directive not to be jurisdictious. The directive principle of state policies set out in this part shall not be justiciable and shall not be thereby by themselves, despite being referred to as rights to certain instances, be legally enforceable in any court.
Okay.
How do you write such a thing? Who was it? Who, some of these things sometimes.
I know, Mr. Momani, you are very emotional about lack of development in your constituency. But let me get it from Mr. Smue. Do members of the public, or in a certain constituency, do they have privileges probably to impeach their leader if he's not performing?
Well, unfortunately, we have no constitutional provisions. If you want to talk about removal of a member from the National Assembly, you have to refer to Article 71. There are grounds upon which one can, lose the seat. Now, for example, one, when they cease to be a member of a political party and then they go to another one, or they cease to be independent, then they become a member of another political party, or they cease to be a political party member to become independent. That's one. The other one is when they are deemed to be of unsound mind. Okay, maybe you have some infirmities of some sort, maybe mental disability. The number 3, just giving you some instances, when, for example, you have been, convicted by a court, under the maybe criminal jurisdiction, and then for a period maybe of 5 years, then you'll be deterred, from nominations. But if you are arrested, for example, and then convicted of a criminal offense, to serve or to be imprisoned, you may also lose a seat. And apart from all those areas that I've outlined, when one dies, apart from that, when one resigns, unfortunately, the clause that many members of the public has been demanding for is recalling a non-performing member of the National Assembly, and that is what we lack. So it is at that level that today members of the public would lose it once they elect one to the House. They can mess up the people, but they can only have the jurisdiction or the powers to remove such a one at the polling day again after they've served their term. So that is the complexity
is that fair?
That's the complexity of which comes as a result of the legislation which we have today, and we have to respect that. Now, I want to state one thing, that we should also draw a line between the state and the member of the National Assembly, so that we can do justice to the discussion. Now, may I state that the other clause that many members of the public have been demanding for to be included in the next constitution, if we are told we are going to have one, is that the president must appoint members of the cabinet from outside parliament, so that we do not have a situation where one belongs to the cabinet, to the executive wing of the state, and then at the same time he is the lawmaker. He initiates the bills and he goes to debate the bills. So to avoid that, then we need to have appointments of members of ministers from outside parliament, so that we do not have the case as what he has presented. Now, this is the challenge of doing what we've been doing. The challenge is that he may be referring to an MP who is also a minister. Now, there is an aspect of multiple responsibilities which might impede on possibly quality delivery, service delivery in a particular constituency. And it's a well-known fact that for many members of the cabinet that, have those ministerial positions, it's been very difficult oftentimes to administer activities in their constituencies, because they are administrators at the ministry. They have to sign, they have to clear certain files in some respect, they have to attend cabinet meetings, they have to accompany or possibly represent the head of state in one way or the other. At the same time, they have to serve the people that put them in
But Mr.
office.
Small, don't you think it's an added advantage, a member of parliament being a minister? Don't you think it's an advantage for a certain constituency?
What we need to promote is decentralization. Okay? So that is a centralized system where almost all the responsibilities are heaped on an individual. What time will they have to visit the masses, like the constituents that my colleague is actually giving out? What time will they have? Because a minister does not represent their constituents. They represent the whole country. Apart from simply representing the government. For example, Minister of Health, he should be almost everywhere. But what has happened is that under the Ministry of Health, there are structures which start at district level, provincial level, up to national level. But at the same time, the man who is at the helm, who is supposed to furnish the president with the right information, relies much on the professionals who are permanent secretaries. But with the deteriorating administration which we have today, where the position of of permanent secretary is no longer critical, as it were, because today people are not appointed hierarchically, because for we want to occupy that position, people they used to rise up to that position in hierarchically, where they could start as maybe mayor, civil servants, they become maybe district administrators, they go to provincial level, up the time they head the ministry. Those are the people that furnish ministers with the information. Now, you need to understand that the ministers usually are given a number of responsibilities, simply apart from, issues of the constituency. For one important reason, because of the constitutional provisions. Because for one to be a minister, they must be members of the National Assembly. Not that the president can nominate even 8 members to be part of the National Assembly. So if he has to appoint someone outside Parliament, he must be nominated to be part of the House. Now, you can see that it is such problems with our legislation which are creating some problems in some case. However, it is also important to state that there are some ministers that know how to divide their time properly. They have held ministerial positions and they have attended to their constituencies. Possibly, that is where my friend's argument becomes more valid. So, the argument here is that we need to look at constituency development from a broader perspective. Who are the players? You must first identify the players. We have a number of players. Apart from an MP who is simply a councillor, okay? Apart from many other councillors, you have also the local authorities, the council. You have the mayor. You have Minister of Lands. You have the Minister of Local Government, upon which some of these institutions fall. Okay? You have a number of ministries. At the center of all these players, you have the cabinet. So, you have also town planners who fall under the Minister of Local Government.
Mr. Now, I will cut you a little bit short. Maybe summarize your statement.
My point is that constituency development goes beyond or transcends the role of an MP. It goes beyond. An MP is, that's why it's called member of the National Assembly, can bring the problems that the constituency is faced with into the House, and they become a point of debate. At the same time, the local authorities can lobby for funds. You have international institutions which have been funding. Members of Kanyama, for example, can come up with proposals, work with the local authorities, can come up with plans which can be financed by international institutions for particular plans to be undertaken. And then you work with other line ministries to restructure the area. So it goes beyond simply an MP. But however, an MP has a pivotal role to play in administering the activities in a particular constituency and in ensuring that the livelihood of the people also improves.
I know viewers out there, you are itching to participate in this program, but Director, let's still hold on with the cause. I've seen our phone has been flashing for quite some time. Before we get the cause, I want to clear one thing. Away from the issues of Kanyama and so forth and so on, Mr. Mumani, I want to find out from you, how would you rate the PF, the party that you support, to to the bone vis-a-vis the promises that they made. Let's look at the constitution. Let's look at more money in people's pockets. What's the position from you?
Thank you very much. You rate it by the time to today, or how do you rate your government? A government is rated throughout their term. So it would be unjust for you to rate the PF today, because some of the things are still coming. As you know, the term, we are almost in the middle of the term today. So you cannot say, no, somebody has failed when the whole mandate has not been completed. So in some cases, yes, we've seen some problems with my government. But in other cases, things are moving in the right direction. You can see. So you don't rate them today. As you know, even when the PF came into power, the country was not in a position of where we can say it was heaven. There were problems, of which certain problems to be solved, they seem to be created to be enlarged. You see. So some people take advantage. But to tell you the truth, there are some areas where the government has done well. And in some areas where I, sometimes condemn my government is on the area of economy in terms of, the hikes that have been there. You look at the mill hasn't balanced well. You look at the electricity tariff, which we have, we the young people, especially entrepreneurs, have received with mixed feelings. The lending rate, that the banks and some lending institutes have increased. That hasn't augured well. It's affecting us very much, and we cannot, stay without complaining. But in other sectors, you look at roads, you look at the building of the country in terms of infrastructure. My government have strived and have done, very well.
How would you rate them out of 100?
Before the term completely ends.
Are you happy with the status quo currently?
As I have explained, I cannot rate it.
Are you happy? You cannot rate it until 2016.
Yes.
But so far, how would you describe the status quo? Happy with their performance?
In some ways, I'm happy. In some ways, I'm not.
All right. Let's get Mr. Small.
I wanted to just come in. It's a bit, of course, the declared interest in a particular political party. But I must state one thing, that this is the way the economic performance of every country is rated. Use the GDP. Okay? But from the GDP, you then go to other basic necessities and how accessible health facilities and so on. Now, this can be done annually. This is how it is done. That's why the policy document called the budget is provided for a particular period. So you look at the Minister of Finance come next year will tell you about the achievements and the challenges that they will have faced in 2014 for the budget. That's how the rating is done. They will tell you where they failed and what they have achieved. Okay, so you can rate any government using the policy documents which they put in place. When they divert from the budget, you can draw a line there as a point of critique. Okay, because you actually determine their lifeline and in terms of direction using their policies. Are they following the policies? When we talk about the road network, is there a survey which is done, some research, so that you can draw which important roads can be worked on, how fast, and is there a time frame for those roads, or they will be eternal?
And have they been budgeted for?
Exactly. And when you come up maybe with the constitution making process, how is the roadmap? When is it going to end, or to just be a perpetual thing? So you can use those policy frameworks to determine whether or not you have direction. There is a saying, while development is a process, it is never gotten in 24 hours, right?
Yes.
At Rome was not built in one day. At the same time, there is an African saying which people have coined in, that you can tell a rooster when it's still a what? A chick. You can tell that this marriage is destined to fail. Mr. Mumani here is like...
So Mr. Mumani, I think that explains a number of issues too.
Yeah.
So with regard to the constitution, I didn't want really to push you against the wall. I wanted to leave it there. And the people out there will judge from what you had said. But really, from what he's explaining, we get a feeling that what the party, the PF, was supposed to do, especially with the constitution making, was to give us a roadmap to say, okay, this is the stage, this is how we are going to achieve this is where we are going, and this is how we shall attain this. But at the moment, nothing is on the table. So really, even if we are waiting for 2016, most people are saying, look, we don't know where we are being driven to. And right now, there's no legal framework, there's literally nothing. So people are still agitated with where we are heading to in regard with the constitution making process. I didn't really want to push you, just as I said, but let's get some calls and see what the viewers out there are also saying at home. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Bakana.
Good evening, thank you. Your name and where you're calling us from. Reduce the volume on your TV set, sir. There's a bad feedback.
This is Louis. Are you able to get me?
But reduce the volume on your TV set.
This is Louis from Uganda.
Yes, reduce the volume on your TV set, sir.
I have one or two things that I would want to talk about in that said.
Yes, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis, we are receiving very bad feedback. Please reduce the volume on your TV set.
And he is misplaced in the incident.
We are unable to get you. We are unable to get you. There's literally
He does
nothing.
not know where he belongs. If he wants to speak for the people, let him state the position.
Well, we can't get Mr. Lewis.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Karan, how are you?
I'm all right, and you? But please, before you go ahead, Mr. Lewis, can you kindly call us back again? We apologize. We did not communicate. So
Hello,
please.
this is Mr. Musanje calling you within...
Yes, Mr. Munsanje.
Lusaka.
Very brief, sir.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Smoe.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mumani.
Good evening, Mr. Musanje.
Yes, Mumani, before I go any further, I have two questions for you. It seems like you are trying to contradict yourself. You are a PF member, and your party has failed to give the Zambian people people-driven constitution. Okay, now, what is your take on the issue of the constitution? Because if you are a PF member, remember that your promises were based on 90 days. You promised the Zambian people, youth specifically, that in 90 days more money in your pocket. Now, today, you are able to see that your government, they have failed. They went in the government without a proper planning. Now, the other thing I want to ask you is, if you, I don't know either it's by a miracle, the people of Kanyama vote for you tomorrow or come 2016, what good things are you going to do for Kanyama constituency? Since Jerry Chanda has failed to deliver in Kanyama. You are very correct, Jerry Chanda. We don't know where he is. We don't know where he is, but we are aware that he is a MP for Kanyama. So those are the few questions that I can ask.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Munsanje. Let's get some more calls. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. Kindly speak up, sir.
This is Chimuka. I'm calling from Kanyama.
Yes, Mr. Chimuka.
Yes. The issue of our area MP is Mr. Kelly Chanda. Yeah. You know, for sure, Mr. Chanda is a failure. We are very disappointed as a people who are in Kanyama because our area MP has abandoned us. We are like orphans, street kids who are looking for shelter. Kanyama is in a very bad state. Okay, if you had to take time to visit Kanyama during rain season, I'm telling you, it's pathetic. It's only a few kilometers from the town center. Still, we have commons like Kanyama, which are in a very bad state. We are not expecting to have commons like Kanyama near town center. Lusaka, Kanyama in particular, could have developed a long time ago. Likely are those people who are living in Matelo, and my thanks and gratitude to Mao Sampa. He has done more than people of material were expected. If we had an MP like Mao Sampa in Kanyama, we could have been proud of our area MP. But
Wind up, sir, so we allow others also to call to participate.
yeah, my final word is Mr. Chanda is a failure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Please kindly be advised that when you call, be brief, summarize your statements so that we allow others also to participate. We are running out of time, so we have to accommodate a number of issues here and there. Good evening. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, sir. Your name?
Okay, you are speaking to Brother Chisha within Lusaka.
Yes, brother Chisha.
I hope you are getting me clearly, my
We
brother.
are getting you loud and clear, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mumani and Brother Smoy.
Good morning, Mr. Brother Chisha.
Thank you so very much. I'll be very brief.
Thank you, sir.
You know, some of us, we supported the PF from the word go, and we are still supporting PF. But just to be honestly and without even beating about the bush, in some areas like Mr. Mumani is saying, what people are saying no is contradicting himself. For me, I can't see any contradiction with Mr. Mumani's statement. You know, when we are talking about constitution, personally, I'm a very disappointed person because I voted against MMD, hoping that when we are going to form government in PF government, automatically we are going to have a new constitution. But as we are speaking, we are still waiting. And when we are talking about the constitution, this document is not just for PF members; it is a national thing. So when we are talking about the constitution, why do you expect us to support the PF on that area? We can't support it because we expect to have a good constitution in this country. In terms of laws, who doesn't see that the PF government is really working well on that area? So there's nothing like maybe Mr. Mani is contradicting himself. What he's saying is the truth. Where the government is working well, we are going to say openly to say on such areas the government is working. Where they are failing, how can we start praising them? So in other words, what I'm trying to say is that where the PF is working, we are there to support them. Where they are failing, we can't just support them just because we supported them in 2011. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that this is the right time for PF to pull up their socks. You know, people like Greg Chanda, these are the people who are making PF unpopular. How do you expect PF Kanyama to continue supporting PF when the member of parliament is failing to develop Kanyama? It is unfortunate. On that one, I can't even beat about the bush. Mr. Mumani, what you are doing is very well. And I'm appealing. I'm not a Kanyama resident. I'm calling from a material constituent. Mr. Mao Sampai is working. We need the people who can perform. Otherwise, to have people like Gary Chanda and the Invent System, I mean, where are we going to start even from, to campaign for people like Gary Chanda? Personally, I can't continue supporting PF in that line, but in some areas, they are working very well. Exactly. It's not just a matter of criticizing everything. They are working well, we have to support them. Where they are failing, we have to condemn them. Thank you so very much.
Brother Chester, thank you so much. I think a number of issues have come through. Let's hold on with the cause. I know so many people are itching to contribute, but let's respond to these. But before we respond to all these concerns, Mr. Mumani, has the PF failed in Kanyama constituency?
The PF has failed in Kanyama through Jerry Chanda.
I love the way you are coming out. Thank you so much. I think that's you've answered it. Let's get to the concerns. I don't know. Most of them are being directed to Mr. Mumani. But before Mr. Mumani answers them, I think let's hear your views from what the callers have just said.
Well, I think Brother Chisha is spot on, and we had also Chimuka, and then we had Musanji who had the divergent view as well. And possibly that question that you posed on the moment answers Mr. Musanji's concern, because according to Mr. Musanje, he feels Gary Chanda is PF. And so if an MP for PF fails, then it means the party has failed.
Exactly.
So Mumani also clarifies by indicating that PF has failed in Kanyama through Gary Chanda. So possibly the argument here is that if there was another MP who could have been more hardworking than Gary Chanda, then you could have been talking about something else. And I think it is at that level where we can actually meet and say, okay, fine, we seem to be speaking the same language, except that there needed to be some clarity somewhere.
Are there specific responses you want to touch on before? we get some more
Yes,
calls.
I think my colleague have clarified on Mr. Munsanje. Chimuka, thank you very much. You are calling from Kanyama, and you know how much we've suffered in Kanyama. How much, a filthy and everything is there. Brother Chisha, calling from, the neighboring constituency of Matero, he also understands more about that issue. This time, Kalan, you see, we are in a generation where we should call a spade a spade. If this is a shovel that is used for development, let's call it a shovel. You see, if a person has failed, whether he belongs to UPND, belongs to PF, he has failed. And this is we are not here to praise who or to praise what hasn't been, in order. The MOP has failed us in Kanyama. And in other constituencies, the PF have performed. So it is this time when we realize, even we voters, that it's not a party, but sometimes we engage in people. But the problem in Kanyama has been, we've been, feasted on by vouchers. Today I'm speaking as a Mumani from Kanyama constituency, not campaigning, but enlightening problems that are in the constituency. Come 2016 October, you will see vouchers coming to Kanyama, and mark this as a footage. They will come and tell the people that we are the people that can deliver development here, when they don't even belong there. We, the people of Kanyama today, we have to realize development will come from us ourselves, and not from these vouchers who come election time.
Mr. Munsanje, I don't know. I missed it, whether it's Mr. Munsanje or Mr. Chimuka, whoever who came through with this one. On the Constitution and among other promises were based on 90-day campaign slogan. And so there's no way they're saying we can't wait for 2016 because you gave yourself a time frame.
Thank you. We are equally disappointed. Brother Chisha had put this in, a plain speech. We are equally disappointed. We need the Constitution. Because I was reading here how Article 112 would be preempted by Article 111. You see, if that was corrected, today there was going to be a case in court. You see, or there was going to be a recalling of our MP and buying another one. Or we were going to sue the state as, Jonathan Muman and people of Kanyama against the state over not delivering to. So it's all this confusion that we need to, put in plain, as my scholar here, who is an expert in these things, who is explaining. We have to make sure that we have a good constitution that we will refer to if things are in the case as they are in Kanyama today. So we need the constitution. Those who don't, I don't know whether there is a PF supporter today who says, I don't need the Constitution.
No, there are so many. I can tell you, we've covered so many stories where even your senior members, whom I can even mention here, they've categorically said, we don't need a Constitution. What the people need is food on their tables, and the Constitution will give them food. I'm sure these do not come from people from the grassroots, but your senior party members, literally everyone says the same.
They are not in order.
Let's get some more calls. Good evening. Hello. 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 Good evening. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Your name and where you're calling us from?
Yes, this is Mr. Mkelebai within Lusaka, to be specific.
Yes, Mr. Mkelebai.
Mr. Man, good evening.
Good evening, Wondat.
Yes. Mr. Mani, soldier on, and don't let anybody know to intimidate you by bringing political HIV, violence, and the mutation. In political, there is political discourse and the psychophysical by Mushushana Galu, Nimuna, in Itali, but Sinavare Nadai. Mr. Mumani, fight for us, the Kanyama people. Okay, Mr. Mani.
Thank you.
Other point is, Mr. Mumani, don't you really think that what Sampa did is a daylight law, whereby passion is cheaper for...
Okay, I think that point has been taken. Good evening. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. Your names?
Yeah, this is Mr. Ngandu calling you from Makeni.
Yes, Mr. Ngandu.
Yeah, Mr. Kalen, let Mr. Muman tell us the truth. PF has failed. Where is he? Let us stand as a man to say, if Georgian has failed, it means PF has failed. Because who chose Georgian as PF? Let
let Mr. Mumana tell us where he is. Not let him not hide. You know, a lot of people are claiming for a constitution. Some senior people, even Mr. Kavimba yesterday, during this interview, he said a president doesn't have to, to be seen by the people. He doesn't have to hold a conference. What is that? We are very disappointed with you. If you see
Okay. Thank you so much. Hello? Hello?
Yes, hello?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, this is Brother Mansa calling from John Lane.
Yes, Mr. Mwansa.
Mr. Mani, good morning. Oh, good evening.
Good evening, Brother Mansa.
I need a t-shirt, my brother.
The t-shirts are here.
Okay, tomorrow. Yeah, please, Brother Mani, continue with the program that you have started. I'm behind you. But
Thank you.
Mind you, this is not political. This is non-political. Change Kanyama revolution is non-political. Let us soldier on and develop Kanyama, not on political lines. No. On that one, if you be political, then I want to be behind you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Let's get to accommodate some more calls. Good evening. Hello. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you too?
We are fine.
Okay.
I'm calling within Osaka.
Your name, sir?
Yes, I would just want to
Your
thank
name,
Mr.
sir?
Mana. He's a very good man and he's really hammering on the point. Brother, that spirit, keep it up.
Thank you.
We need people like you who can talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, though we didn't get your name. Good evening. Hello? Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. Your name?
Bwajwa kale.
Bono Bwanji.
Dino ambassador. Bwajwa Avumani.
Ambassador, you can call me power voice kaidi.
Oh, voice is fancy.
Yeah, voice
Nanga hapa silimveka shuwa.
Okay, mumveka kambani boss.
Mumveka manjika.
Yeah.
Muziva sina mweko inji sina onemo mkamwa mwaticha. So tinajaila chinyanja.
Yai kambani nkala no masuka.
Zikomo. Vamumani kukamba mkamba bwino. You know government yangana zikolosi la Zambia. Hii navene nikamba pano nachoka kumunzi yesterday. Watu kumunzi again assure you there is development. Really tukanamanga school kwatu inaenda kufunza mnyaka maji mpengo. Lero kuli basic school. Road kutoka Greatest kufika kwatu kumunzi ni 23 kilometers. Moto gana kuenda 2 hours kuti ifike kwa sisi Nyarugwe. So 45 minutes yafika mroad. So development ya government niyo buta kwa ama yangana paliponse. Singaone inde Kanyama ili Burusaka. Singaone tumwa Kanyama mulibe development. Pati kubatero maonda development ili kukabata development ili. So mwinango ichite kwa kusinga kite nawe imozi yose ziko kulibe if the government ya America plele oro ikangana ndama branch sizakachitapa nawe imozi zikolose kulibe benda balira benda baseka benda bakondwera cyo chabe ndiye bameze ziko yende.
Ambassador, maybe who's pushing for that development in these constituencies? Is it the party or the members of parliament according to your...
No, member of parliament sasebenza eka. Saba sebenza eka. That's why kulina Lusaka province minister alimwamene muno kuli district ndani commissioner alimwamene muno kuli councillor alimwamene muno. So ibidi development utitike kuja ipita mose umo mwamene ipita ni mwambili. So kwa ile nikaba utimonga Kanyama kutokera kudala na kudala kwa ba MPs bambili bili ma opposition wankarako kwa Kanyama. So there is no development. So bonga mali na vile ujawina ngo namutari congratulate wa mumani kuti kwa kitabu ile kujoina UPND inavesesa kwa mbili that day. Baby mfuna ni kwa ambila chabe mfuna joina UPND nikukamba. Zikamu mbili.
It's como kwambila. Okay, I think let's hold on with the cause. I know so many are itching to participate. Let me start with you, Mr. Mani. Are you by any chance wanting to defect to UPND?
I think let somebody from the UPND call and say if at all I'm UPND. And you, Karen, knows how I call the radio stations and even the TV stations and how I support the PF. Even the people in the compound where I'm coming from, they that are praising me, knows where I belong. So it's one issue about the ambassador. He's criticizing himself because he's saying you in Kanyama are not developed. Kuna development. He's saying kumatero ngara. So he's laughing at us. Or what is he talking about? So ichaipirai se wakanyama kusangana development. Chawamirai mwanyarugwe kwanu kumunzi na kumatero kwa mene mungala.
No, the ambassador is from Garden and
he comes from Nyarugwe village. He comes from Nyarugwe. He's the ambassador wa Nyarugwe. That's the full name. So ichaipira imwe se chaipa wakanyama tikakamba ati ndi mwa UPND ndimo mene mzambo tichitira. No. And I'm sure the people of Kanyama are not happy with you, ambassador, because mwesimu ngati kumbwisa development iri kumunzi kwanu kwa Nyarugwe na kumatero kwa mene ku Garden kwa mene mungala kwa Kanyama mtuseke kuti development sima chitika pamozi wina alira wina aseka tizirira ise kwa Kanyama tisponda matika imwe mzikondwera. Then chifanya utati nakamba uti MP wanga sasa ebenza mwaleta mwa utati ndi mwa UPND. Be fair. Politics itieti zilichita ku service ku bantu kuona chitukuko batu bana wazichumba Cairo Road kwenda kupunzira maskuru imwe banu imukamba kuti skuru yanu imwe manje hapa mwezo kupunzira mu mtengo hapa manje mpunzira ma class. Let's get fair. Ino ziko ni atu tonzi ndalama za CDF bamachosa zimozi boma ifuniko serenzera bantu bonse so isetirira kwa Kanyama imwe mkondera pera mtiseke Anyarugwe nkala serious ziko kwa Kanyama ni pafupi kuchira kwanu kwa Nyarugwe. MP wanu ngati alibu ino nisharibu ino ise kuja kwa Kanyama MP watu ndiye saribu ino koma ni wa PF. So nikamuuza ine kuti bwera usevenze sikuti ndine wa UPND simwamene tifuna nase kwa Kanyama tingaina hospital na kliniki na matara yamene mukamba yali kwanu kwa Nyarugwe vichitike kwa Kanyama kuja.
Any of the responses you want to respond to?
Thank you very much.
We get to Mr.
Thank you very much. And I think most of them are kudos, and this is how it should be. Because kudos are coming from the people of Kanyama. It's us. Uikala mumpundu, mfoko shipona. Mfoko shipona. Ukala mumukuyungo unyufangushiro pupu mashiku. So this is the situation. So some of you who doesn't stay in Kanyama, I think this year, Kalan, be ready to see and show the footages. Rains are just by the corner.
They'll be there.
You will see. And you know, don't only report, and this system you, the media has, that when a councillor comes to just pick a little bit of garbage, you are with him and reporting that he is doing development. It's, you know, not in order. It's not good. Report to the people in Magwaba area who are drinking water on shallow wells. Report. Go to people who are, sharing one toilet, 100 people. Go and report there in Kanyama. Come, I'll take you in Kanyama where people are suffering. Go in Mutandavantu where people are selling in the streets. Go and show the country. Don't follow leaders. When a leader comes to Kanyama, you just take what he's talking about. That is not good. Show the real news. Show the people who are suffering. Go to markets. Markets are deserted, dilapidated. Youths are not getting into the markets have remained for the old people. Who cannot afford to compete in the streets. Is that the way we are going to survive as a country?
Toilet. I think that's a common phrase on the streets. Mr.
Well, it's a very interesting debate, especially knowing that we are in a democratic dispensation where people have to express opinions based on how they view things. And possibly I would also respect the opinion of Ambassador if he feels the area MP there has done exceptionally well.
That's all Kapata.
Exactly. So I must also state that at the same time that, also cadres or political members are in various categories. There are those that would even appreciate, even when things are bad, they would just die like that. There are some that also follow the mob, who are actually align themselves around what is called mobocracy, where they are influenced by the crowd moving in a certain direction, who are like houseflies. You know, housefly, when it lands on dung, and the dung is on your t-shirt, they don't care where you are going. They would be on it until you arrive at home. They will not even realize they've actually shifted camps. So some are like that. So it's a way of possibly of appreciating someone's opinion from his own opinion, and in a particular area, a particular MP is working. And then Ambassador does also subscribe to the fact that an MP can be disconnected from the party. As far as he's concerned, an MP does not work alone. If an MP in a particular area has done well, they will say PF is working. So if that is the case, then we should also agree by stating that if an MP has also done badly in a particular area, people will say PF has failed. So it's a win-win situation that can be perceived differently by different people in the country, depending on what they see to be work by the ruling party.
All right. We are quickly running out of time, but let's accommodate some more calls. If you have any, let's pick them up. Good evening. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. Your names?
My name is Stephen Kawan, so I'm calling from Jonah.
Your name again, and kindly speak up, sir.
My name is Stephen Kawan, I'm calling from Jonah.
Okay, you can go ahead. Oh, we didn't get your name. You can go ahead, sir. Timvela na boss kambani.
Ambassador kamba bunu bati wabosi wake wa bila enta bati makalipa bati ndio district kama nini. Ndio mradi mwingine ndio from Jonah.
Okay, Zikomo Kwambila, I think this is what Mr. Smo was explaining, that we respect his views also. That's what he thinks. And Mr. Mbano just responded to his contribution also. I think let's move forward. Good evening.
Good evening, Karen.
Hello.
Hello, I'm getting you. Good evening, Karen.
Good evening, thank you, sir. Your name and kindly speak up.
I'm Zulu, calling you from John Lende, within Kanyama area.
Yes, Mr. Zulu.
Yes. I just want to congratulate that man who's there, and everyone in Kanyama. You know, Kalen, if he can just have a time to come and see the people, how we are suffering here in Kanyama. It's pathetic, I tell you. Even the water, even the environment, the way we live here in Kanyama, I don't know, we are just like orphans. We are orphans, I can say we are orphans. Why? Because there's no father who can take care of us. If you can ask, no?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm saying that if he can, if what I can say that we need to know where he is right now, our father, who is Gary Chan, so that we can discuss with him, because we need to sit down with him, because the people here now, they are condemning the PF, particularly the president, because we voted for PF, and now our leaders who is representing us in parliament is no longer to be seen. He is back there eating this cassava.
Thank you so much, sir. The people of Kanyama are looking for their prodigal MP.
Quite interesting indeed.
All right, let's get some more calls. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, thank you, sir. Your names?
Hello, are you able to get me?
Loud and clear.
Yes, I'm Taferi calling you from Kanyama constituency.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Actually, I'd love to praise the man there, Mr. Mumani, for the good job he's doing in actually in the nation and the people about what is happening here in Kanyama. I also want to express my displeasure over our MP, Mr. Jerry Chanda. I've been following the program. You said he was actually MP here in Lusaka, of which now is the member of parliament for Muchinga Province. I mean, we are the minister for Muchinga Province. Now, the time he was here in Lusaka, when he was the Lusaka Province minister, I think it was close to his constituency in which he actually failed to deliver. He's now out there in Muchinga. He doesn't even want to pay attention to what is happening here. He's very much aware of the problems that we're facing in Kanyama. Okay? And we are looking at what is happening in these other constituencies, like Matero, for instance, and what is this, Kawata constituency. The members of parliament, they are working. But what is wrong with the man that we have here? And this is the kind of leadership that we don't want. People that just want to walk into office and in the end they just want to fatten their pockets. Are we going to actually continue having such kind of leadership, even in this, era where actually people are able to see and even, understand what actually is required of, whoever is put into office. So whenever he is, Mr. Jerry Chanda should actually sit down and actually look back and even understand what he was actually voted for into office. I also want to urge the members of the PF, the leadership in the PF, to sit Mr. Jerry Chanda down so that they actually, maybe advising on how he's actually supposed to execute his duties. The fact that he's minister from Mchinga province doesn't mean he should actually forget about the people that actually voted him into office. I think that would be the wisest way to actually handle this problem.
Okay, Mr. Zulu, wind up, please. Thank you. All right, let's get the last caller. Last caller, then we wrap the program on the other side. Last caller, please. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Your names?
My name is Makumbe Warren.
Yes, Mr. Wallen.
Not in Wallen, it's Makumbe.
Wallen, isn't it?
Wallen, yes.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Wallen. I've gotten that one.
Kautu kwashavani wa Makumbe. Twarumba.
Kambo ngandira sumpuwani. Kuti vantu vari mudhondede mudhara kamuzumana namaprogramu ngomuchita kununa vantu vanhu kuti vazoma penzi vavore mumwe kamuzumana kamuziya kumberi twarumba kapati ndandira kutovera maprogramu oro muredziyo konse komusiku maprogramu anonge ndakomena mandimbakati kamuzumana pamwe
twarumba.
Okay. Thank you so much to all of you that have participated. We end with a cause on that note. Mr. Man, one question probably somebody out there would be asking is how far with the revolution, and do we expect to see any protest around in regard with the lack of development in Kanyama?
The revolution is peaceful. We don't fight, and the people showing displeasure on what is happening in Kanyama are seen in the faces like mine. I have got nothing to laugh about, to joke about in Kanyama. We are seriously in problems and we are crying. As you hear, every person who calls from Kanyama, I think, is lamenting on the things from John Leng, from Chivoria, Mutandabantu, Kwambasera, Linda. We are in serious problems. And for this, we are appealing to the relevant authority that na kulimbochi chitwa abachichiterino. If that is the way what they can do to us in Kanyama, let them do it now. If it's to nullify, if it's to bring back Yanio Chanda to Kanyama and make him stay with us so that we can also see development, let them do that. Then we the people, what we are doing, you see, is to show there is nothing we can do. You heard my scholar here saying there is nothing can be done on current constitution, not until on the polling day. So the only thing is to show displeasure and sensitizing ourselves that this time around we look out for good leaders, and we are warning the political parties. You come with your man, your woman in Kanyama this time around that we don't know, you tamanga. We are not going to accept imported leaders. We need leaders from within. You bitch in Konja party, Mulembwe party, come and choose leaders from within so that we compete on our own. And when we elect people, we will know them. We've been subjected to importation of leaders to Kanyama. We are a feast, we are a carcass. When it's election time, they come and feast on us. And we are the people who most of the time have the numbers. Have you ever heard of a rally in Kablonga? Or in North Mid? First rallies will be in Kanyama. And we warn them. Let them come. All political parties are represented in Kanyama. So we Kanyama people, let's give leaders. All political parties, we give them people. Uyu, Panarep, Uyu, Paye. Then we compete. We don't want you to come with jackets and those jeeps that today you are saying Kanyama is impossible. Then it will be possible election time. Today we are mourning on our own our funerals. Those time current funerals, people will come and buy coffins on funerals. They will come and join us. They will buy people chibuku. And after that, this is the case. You saw the clips, and Kanyama will remain like this. We are not going to accept that. We want also development. As my scholar was saying, it can be done in phases. There can be a good plan. Bit by bit, we continue until we see that, even in low-cost houses, we can build roads, we can do everything. Where there is a will, Kalan, there is a way. And this fight for this revolution is not for me alone. It's for our children. Most of people who fought, most of revolutionaries, never even lived to see the goodness of what they fought for. And I may not even be there when Kanyama will have sewer system. I may not be even there when Kanyama will have drainages. When Kanyama will have high-rise and a good hospital, including schools. But my children will enjoy, and they will say, one time lived Jonathan Mumani in Kanyama, and he fought for the plight of the people. We need to bring pride to ourselves. We are walking with our eyes low.
All right, as we conclude, I think let's put to rest the issues of Kanyama with Mr. Jonathan Mumani and look at one important aspect. Some sections of society have been calling for the immediate resignation of President Michael Sata. Quickly, as we wind up with the program, your take on that?
Well, as I end my submission, Abraham Lincoln defines democracy as the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. So we need to seek legitimacy by allowing the overwhelming majority to actually decide the way possible for the country. Now, as regard to the resignation of the president, and I think we have reiterated on this particular platform that it would be imperative that the president makes that decision hastily, as it is not going to only spare his life due to tension that arises from the presidential responsibilities, but it would also create a smooth transition for our country. As things stand today, we may underestimate the tension that is in the country. People are in darkness for over 40 days, and that is not an easy undertaking at all. So it's imperative that the cabinet pressurizes the head of state to find a way of possibly, stepping aside, if it were possible, for a smooth transition to take place. I do not think that Patrick Front should be hinged on one individual. They may have many other members within the party who can take up the mantle. Now, if many of us agree that we should wait for nature to speak, fine. And you will see that this will not be an easy thing at all. And it brings in other cost implications. And obviously, that also impacts negatively on our economy. So we would wait for nature to speak, if that is what we're waiting for. And then it would be fair enough with ourselves by following Article 36 of the Constitution of Zambia, which prescribes the manner in which the president in the process of having some incapacity can vacate the office. But the problem is that nobody is ready to bring out information because of fear, and we will challenge the members of the cabinet to be bold enough. This is our country. To be bold enough and face the president if they feel he's incapacitated and he's got no capacity to discharge the functions as president of the country. So it's very important that they take up bold steps. That is what is going to save this country. And I think that is my take on that particular issue.
All right. Your concluding remarks.
My concluding remarks as regard to whether or not members of the National Assembly have been accountable enough for their actions is so widespread. But point number one is that it takes us back to policy formulation and legislation. Poor legislation, poor laws in our constitution, and poor policies are responsible for what we are going through today. We want members not to be controlled only by their dignity, but also by the law. And the human being by nature responds to the law, because there should be some penalties attached to every law. So for me, that is the lasting solution to deal with this particular issue, which also Jonathan Mumani is raising. And let members of the public that feel they have to speak out be given an opportunity like Jonathan Mumani to express themselves, because that is a constitutional provision under the Bill of Rights.
That's why we thought it wise that we can give him an audience so that he can speak.
They should be able to speak out their lungs, the challenges that they are faced with, so that the relevant authorities or indeed the local authorities can take it up. It's a matter of agency. constituency from what you've gotten from the viewers. And about 90% of the viewers unanimously agreed with his submissions. So that obviously should reflect something on what's going on in that particular constituency.
Mr. Man, your closing remarks.
Thank you very much. Those who want to support the revolution, especially for those who are in Kanyama and those who sympathize with us who are not in Kanyama constituency, you can log in and search for on Facebook, Change Kanyama Revolution, like the page, and we continue talking. Also, you can, even those who sympathize with us, you can see me or call me on 0977165932. Then we talk on how you can support one another. We need to print these t-shirts in numbers, distribute to Kanyama people, so that people can be aware that there is need of change in Kanyama. The change we are talking about is change in everything. Change in our behavior, change in how we see ourselves, even the change in leadership, so that Kanyama also can return its pride as a place where people live.
Mr. Jonathan Mumani, developmental activist, Mark Smue, political activist, thank you so much for making an appearance on this program.
It's always a pleasure to feature on the program, Kalan.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. I was discussing with Mr. Mark Smue, political activist, and Mr. Jonathan Mumani, a developmental activist, and we are looking at leadership accountability among members of parliament. And of course, this is where we've come to the end of the program, The Oxygen of Democracy. Thank you so much to all of you that had found time to join us on this particular program, hoping that you would do the same next week at the same time. Many thanks goes to all those that had also found time to participate via calling, and those whom we did not get your calls, please give it a try next week, because we cannot manage to pick all the calls. Thank you so much once again to my crew, which was very active, ensuring that the program is a success. My name is Kala Mchima. Good evening, Zambia.
Potato sticks, freaky fries. Get that awesome crunch.